Welcome back, everyone. I know that I haven't been looking best in these videos, but I figure it's better to look ugly and have content than no content at all. So this is just how we're gonna roll for this video. Chelsea from The Financial Diet posted a video about a book that she wrote. I think it's her first novel that she wrote independently, and I decided that I wanted to read this book. Now, this book is not exactly released yet. I think it comes out on June 9th. If it's not June 9th, I'll put on the screen what the correct date that it gets released. So I saw Chelsea's video and I decided that I wanted to read this book and do a review on it. Now, Chelsea doesn't know me. If she watches this video, quite frankly, I'd be a little bit embarrassed. So when she posted this video, she did say that she was gonna give certain people an advanced copy of the book. As I was watching the video, I scrolled into the comment section and Chelsea posted a comment that basically said, if you request her book from your public library and send proof that you actually did that, she'll send you a free advanced copy of the book. And since I am not quite popular a YouTuber and nobody knows who I am, and Chelsea doesn't know who I am, I decided I might as well just go ahead and request my library to carry the book because I really want to support Chelsea and The Financial Diet. I love all of her videos. I think she gives out really good advice, really solid good advice. So that's what I went ahead and did. Public library emailed me back. I took a screenshot of that email and I sent it to Chelsea's website that she has for the book. I'll put the website for the book on the screen here. And then I sent it to her, and then Chelsea emailed me back, or it might not have been Chelsea that emailed me back. It could just be someone that's working on her team or whoever, but they sent me a free e-book copy of the book, and I'll get into what the book is in a second here. So if you are a fan of Chelsea and The Financial Diet, you should just go ahead and submit a request to your public library to carry the book. I mean, it's free. It takes literally 2 minutes to do that, and you'll be helping Chelsea out. A little bit about the book. So the way that Chelsea was describing the book in her video, it's basically, so what she said is that it is not quite a rom-com or a romance novel. Basically about this woman named Leah, who is, I think she renovates old chateaus or old houses in France that are kind of in disrepair and turns them into boutique or luxury hotels. And so that's Leah's job. So the premise of the book is that Leah does this in France, and she is doing a contract job for the Levesque family, and she gets into kind of a spicy romance with someone in the family, I guess, is kind of what the book is about. Now, I'm not someone that particularly likes romance novels, as you guys well know at this point, but I decided to give this one a try because, like I mentioned before, I really want to help Chelsea out, and I'm curious about the book itself. I just want to know if Chelsea's writing is any good in terms of fiction or nonfiction. So now that I have an ebook copy of the book, I do a lot of my reading on Kindle, and I'm far too lazy to figure out how to put the EPUB version of this book on my Kindle. So I'm just going to read it on my iPad, on the Books app on the iPad. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. So let's just get into it, and I will be updating you all along the way. Hopefully I update you frequently during my read of this book. I hope I really like it, because if I don't, that would just be really awkward, and I don't know, we'll see. I'm nervous because, as I mentioned before, I don't really like romance novels. I kind of find them to fall into a particular trope, but Chelsea did say that her novel doesn't fall into your particular romance trope, like Grumpy Sunshine, Enemies to Lovers, Friends to Lovers, that kind of thing. So I don't know, I'm just curious to see. She did say that it was going to be spicy, and spicy's not really my thing, but I don't know, we'll see, and I'm excited to get into this book. I have an update for you guys. I'm about a little over halfway done with A Perfect Vintage, and so far, from what I read, I really like it. The first 100 pages or so were just very slow and kind of setting up what the book was going to be and setting up the place that they're going to be at in France, and it was just really slow and felt a little bit info dumpy. I felt like Chelsea was just giving a lot of this is France, this is Leah's job, this is her relationships with the people in her life. So it did just feel a little bit info dumpy, and the first 100 pages was kind of a slog to get through. But now that I'm past that, I think the book has really started to pick up this pace. I knew that this book was going to be a romance going into it, like Chelsea had stated in her video, but I went into this thinking that our main character Leah was gonna have a romance with one particular person, and then once we hit that point, because I literally couldn't figure it out, who was she gonna have the romance with? Is she gonna have the romance with the person that owns the chateau? Is it one of his like sons? Like who is it? Or is it like a someone that worked at the chateau? But there was this one scene in particular where Leah is saying something about one of this guy, the son in the book, the younger son in the book, and when she said it, I was like, oh, I thought it was just like an off the cuff remark. But as I got further into the book, I realized, or became very obvious, that Leah is going to have a romance in this book with the chateau's owner son, the youngest son, who is 12 years younger than Leah. So Leah is she's in her 30s. She's in her like mid to late 30s. I want to say she's 36, but I don't know if that's quite right. And she's getting into like this kind of romance with the son who is actually 24. So when it became obvious like that's who she's gonna have the romance with, I was kind of taken aback because I was like, is Leah a cougar? I don't know. Like, I don't know how I feel about this. The age gap is very striking. I mean, they're both consenting adults. So that was the only part where I was like, oh, okay. But now that I'm into it, a little bit more ways into it, I really like it. I think that this is, if you can read books that takes a bit of a while to set up the scene and set up how the book is going to be like, and because like this is based in France, right? So like Chelsea is trying to give us a little bit of that French background. She's trying to give us that feel of like the vibe of the book. I'm not a person that can just like, read a book that has no plot and like goes off something that's just purely character driven. There are books in the past where I've read where it's just character driven, and I really like it because I like the characters. But this book it's character driven, but it's also, I think at this point, plot driven, and it does feel like, I know that A Perfect Condition is not going to be a 5-star book for me. It's probably sitting right now at a 4-star book, and that's only because it took more than 100 pages in to finally get into the romance, and so I'm knocking a star off of that, because it's like there are some books that like once you hit like the first couple pages, it just hooks you and it grips you, and this is not one of those books. You have to kind of just stay with it in order to see where like Chelsea's going with the characters. But like I do say, I like it so far. Like once I got past that like first 100 pages, that's when it got interesting. There are plenty of books like out there where like the first 100 pages and like the first 100 pages for this book is like a third of the way in, so it's kind of far to not have anything particularly interesting happen. But there are books, like I think the one that comes to mind right now is The Host by Stephanie Meyer. Not to say that The Host and A Perfect Vintage are at all like each other, because they're not. The Host, I remember reading that book quite a long time ago, and I almost DNF'd The Host because I was like more than 100 pages in and I was just like not getting it, like nothing was happening. But once you get into like the actual like meat and all the actual like plot of the book, it became interesting. I'm talking about The Host. So this is just kind of along those lines where like it's going to take a while to get interesting, but once it gets interesting, it's worth sticking around for, because so far everything that's happening, I really like. There is this, so the thing about this book right now is that, so Leah, because she's in her mid-30s, she's kind of like at this point in her life where she's like, I'm not here for like miscommunication, I'm not here for like, your typical romance tropes. She's not, this book is very much not like falling into a particular genre. It's not like sunshine versus grumpy romance. It's not friends to lovers. It's not enemies to lovers. It doesn't fall into any of those categories. It's truly two people who met that started having feelings for each other, that have no like connected past. So it's not falling into your typical like romance trope type of like genre within the romance books. But there was this one scene, like I mentioned, she's an adult woman. She's in her 30s. She knows what she wants. And then I fully went into this thinking that, oh my God, because of the huge age difference between Leah and the younger son, whose name is Theo, I probably should have mentioned that earlier, between Leah and Theo, because there's such a huge age gap between both of them, I really thought that this was going to end up being like miscommunication trope of like, you know, him and her. But there was this actual one scene where like pretty close or pretty soon into Leah realizing that she has feelings for Theo, and then kind of thinking, oh, maybe he's reciprocating those feelings, and that Leah was just like, they were like in the kitchen of this chateau where she just like fully comes out with it without like actually Leo like verbalizing that he has any feelings for her. She just kind of like thinks that he does, and she just fully says it out loud. She's like, hey, I like you. Where are we at with this? And so that kind of gave me a little bit of secondhand embarrassment, because she just came full out and she just says it. As I think in a lot of like romance books that I've read, they kind of like hum and ha back and forth. Do we like each other? Is this gonna work? Whereas like Leah's like, I know what I want. I'm telling you about what I want. Are you with me? So, and like I said, it came off guard, and it gave me like secondhand embarrassment, like hardcore, because I was like, me as a person, I would never do that. Like Leah's already taught me a lesson by reading this book, but also it's just really refreshing in a romance novel for the main lead or the main people within the romance to just come right out and state their feelings. And I don't know, it just kind of took me back, but I liked it a lot. So we're just going to see how this one keeps going. Like I said, I'm about a little bit more than halfway through the book. I should have vlogged an update like when I was probably like a fourth or a third of the way through the book, but just time and life got away from me. But like I said, so far I really like this book, which is kind of thank God, because I was worried about this in the beginning, because this is a book that I got an advanced copy of, and not a lot of people out there have like actually read this book yet. And like I mentioned before, like I really like Chelsea, and I really like The Financial Diet, and I watch her videos a lot. So it would have really pained me in my soul to have read this book and like not like it. I mean, I still do have like half of it left to go, but so far what I read, I do like it. And so we'll just check in again, maybe when I'm like 3/4 of the way, or when I'm done with the book, so I can give you like my wrap up and final thoughts. Please don't look at my like haggard look right now. I just had a full day of working my regular 9 to 5, and I spent like an hour outside just tanning at the poolside like lounges, and so I'm probably looking a bit sweaty, a little bit greasy in this video, but just don't look at it. It's fine. Everything's fine. And I will check up with you again when I'm either done with the book or 3/4 of the way through the book. Okay, everyone, I am back, and I have finally finished A Perfect Vintage. Also not looking quite great. My hair is giving grease. My face is giving grease. Will I ever look good in one of these videos? We'll never know. I know that I mentioned in my last update that I was kind of like shooketh that our main character Leah was in a romantic relationship with a member of the family that she works for, and the member of that family is actually the youngest son, and he is 24 and Leah is 36. I actually did confirm that. It's mentioned later on in the book. So it's kind of a 12-year age gap, and that kind of took me off guard. And I also mentioned in my last update how I got secondhand embarrassed because both Leah and Theo were very just like upfront with their feelings. But like I finished the book now, and I have thoughts, and I want to give those thoughts to you. So I really ended up liking this book, and I'm shocked myself, because I am not someone who reads romance a lot. So for me to like this book really says something. Now I'm gonna end up rating it 4 stars. I think I mentioned in my last update that it's not gonna be 5 stars, particularly because of the first 100 pages of this book was just very dry and info dumpy. It took far too long to get into the plot of this book with just the first 100 pages. Like I feel like she could have cut out like at least 50 pages in the beginning and gotten straight into like Francis and like the family and the relationship and the dynamic and what have you. But I think what I liked about this book is that I learned a lot about France, for one. I actually, now that I've read this book, I kind of like want to put France on like my bucket list and end up visiting there, because just the way that she describes it just makes it seem like you know, French people and the French food are just like so welcoming and so good, and that's just like, I don't know, I like food, and it just seems like French food, the way that she describes it in this book, is something that I'm gonna get my hands on if I ever end up going to France. I think in the last like third of this book is where it like really gripped me, because I really felt for a lot of the characters. I really felt for Leah. As I mentioned, like Leah got into a relationship with Theo, and he is 12 years younger than her, and Leah's niece, who went on the trip to France with them while Leah was like doing her job and upgrading the old chateau, her niece Maya, and Maya's mom Stephanie, which is Leah's cousin, that's just how families work, on to the trip with her because Stephanie is going through a divorce, things happening with her husband. Stephanie ends up, you know, getting into a relationship with Alain Levesque, who is the patriarch of the family, and so Maya has had a crush on Maya has had a crush on Theo the entirety, like at the beginning, and she kind of like makes that known. So when we realize that Leah is getting into a relationship with Theo and they've just been kind of screwing all over the chateau, I just thought to myself, like, girl, this cannot end well for you, because you are screwing your employer's son and your niece has a crush on Theo. And I just, the entire time I was reading the book, I was like, something is going to go wrong. Everyone's going to find out about this relationship in one way or another. This cannot end well for you, Leah. But it does kind of happen, like the way that everybody finds out that like Leah and Theo are together. It kind of reminds me of that scene in, if you've ever seen Crazy Stupid Love, where, you know, all the characters are in the movie like don't know that they're connected, and then at the end of the movie they realize that they're all connected in some way or another, and it's like a really like funny scene. That's what it kind of reminds me of, like when everybody finds out, but less funny, more dramatic. But like I said, I really like ended up liking this book. I really like the characters and the relationship, and Chelsea really made me feel for all the characters that she wrote in this book. And I'm excited for any other novels that she publishes or she self-publishes down the future, because I will be picking them up. Once this book is released, I do want to get my own like physical copy of the book, because I mentioned in my intro to this video that I ended up getting like an early ebook copy, but I actually do want a physical copy for my own bookshelves here. I'll be purchasing that with my own money when it does come out. It comes out on June 6th, so just keep that marked on your calendars, because this is one I highly recommend picking up. And like I said, I really felt for all of the characters in this book. This is like one of the first books, or one of the very few books that I read this year that I actually like really felt for and kind of liked. And I will say that I kind of related to this book in terms of Leah's, you know, personality. She's kind of like a type A person, career woman, doesn't want to have kids, and I really relate to that. I didn't really like feel the relationship with like Leah and Theo just because of that age gap. I could not get over the age gap. Like it really did give me like secondhand embarrassment, and I just was just like, Leah, how, girl, you are something else. I just can get over the age gap, and it's just not something that I particularly would ever see myself with that big an age gap, whether I'm older than a significant other or I'm younger than somebody. That age gap was just really massive, and I just, like I said, I just could not get over the age gap there. But I really liked everybody in this book. I really like Elaine, Theo, Leah, Maya. Gabriel got on my nerves, and Marcus, really hate him. Gabriel and Marcus, they just needed to be slapped across the face. Just the things that they do in this book. But as I mentioned before, this was a really good one. I'm probably not being very eloquent here with my wrap up, but like I said, I highly recommend this book, and this is one of the first romance novels that I've read this year that I actually really ended up loving. Another thing I want to mention about this book is that Chelsea actually curated a Spotify playlist for this book, and there's like a lot of French music on there, as well as, you know, music that we're familiar with, like Beyonce and Billie Eilish. But after I finished reading this book, I went and listened to the playlist on Spotify, and who knew that French music could slap so hard? That playlist I will be listening to that playlist while I'm tanning by my pool later today. I think I'll be listening to that playlist for a while. I just did not know French music just like went so hard. But I highly recommend listening to the Spotify playlist as you read this book. It just gives a lot more to the book if you listen to the music. It gives it more like the vibe of France and the vibe of that chateau and like the summer French vibes. I think that is really good, and I'm just kind of shook. I did not know that French music could just go so hard. I have ideas for my next video, and that should be going up next week because I'm currently trying to wrap up one of the books I'm reading for that video. So if you liked this video and you like my review of A Perfect Vintage, please comment, like, subscribe, because it really helps me out. And please go over to The Financial Diet if you don't know who Chelsea Fagan is, or The Financial Diet, because I highly recommend their videos. They're very good. They're very interesting to watch. That's all my thoughts on this book. This video is probably way discombobulated and probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's all my thoughts. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.